2, 3 done. One more. Let's go. This is the one. This form, the age visual inspection clause, one of my favorites. It is the number one way agents get sued. The number one agents get sued is for lack of disclosure on the AVID. So you would put your name here. This is not your name. So you would put Killer 150 there. And there are instructions on how I want you to fill out this form. A lot of times, your TC will send you a glide form, which lets you do it online. So you need to be careful. The glide program or other third-party apps allow you to take pictures through your AVID. I would advise and recommend you not to take pictures. That has been used against agents in lawsuits, trying to show that they didn't inspect the whole property, or say, why did you picture this but didn't picture this? So I would recommend keeping it as simple as possible. So when we are doing a property, I need you to describe the issue, but don't identify the problem. Here's what I mean. Don't diagnose the problem. You're not licensed contractor or inspector to do that. So what I mean by that, there's a stain on the ceiling. So if you say there's a water stain on the ceiling, guess what? You just diagnosed the problem. Do you know what's a water stain? You don't know, right? You don't know if it's current or not. Oh, so if there was a stain on the ceiling, I would say, there is discoloration on the ceiling in the living room. Or even if it's, yeah, so stay away from adjectives. No adjectives. Does that make sense? The more you diagnose the problem, or as you are interpreting the source of the problem or diagnosing the problem, the more you put descriptors or adjectives on the problem that you're identifying will get you into trouble. So, I've also had lawsuits on these where they are challenging whether agents have inspected the area. So for example, oftentimes, well, maybe there is a living room and dining room, but there is no other room. But maybe there is a family room, or sometimes, let's go with higher. Sometimes there's only 2 bedrooms, or there's only 3 bedrooms, 3. Makes sense? You need to put on these other ones, if you don't have anything, you need to put not applicable. That means you're not doing anything. If you inspect the kitchen, but there is nothing wrong, put nothing to report. I have agents said they have inspected the house and they said, yeah, but I didn't put anything. There was nothing there. And then they say, well, why didn't you see this? See this? Do you not agree that's an issue in the kitchen? And they can't prove they inspected the kitchen. Does that make sense? So if you inspect a location of the house and you don't find any defects, please put nothing to report. If a part of the AVID does not apply to the house, it's not a room in the house, or doesn't apply to the house or property, please put NA. Now, let's talk about this also. What do we not put on the AVID? We do not put brand new sink, kitchen sink in the, you don't describe the amenities of the house. It is for significant defects of the property. Significant defects of the property. So if there's nail holes in the wall, that is not a significant defect. If there is a substantial hole in the wall, that would be a material fact defect. Does it make sense? Substantial defect. So you got to understand scope things. Any questions on scope of that? And please note, there have been so many lawsuits on average, it's not even crazy. And I'll tell you a story that will scare you even more. So I'm saying there is discoloration on the ceiling. Well, I spelled that horribly, but you know what I'm saying. So discoloration on the ceiling. So that would be something if I noticed there was a stain on the ceiling. So things like that. Any questions on this? We have entry, living room, dining room, kitchen, other room, bedrooms. If there are 4 bedrooms, then you need to do bedroom 4. If you are, say there's 5 bedrooms on the house and you're going to use this one to do it, then I would put bedroom 5 and start my discussion. And I would say nothing terrible. Does that make sense? So if you're using a generic holder place like other room, you need to make sure you identify the room. Now, here's the thing also, there's been dispute on which bedrooms you're actually inspecting when you talk about bedrooms. So I would do generally a description. So I'll say bedroom 1, I will say first left on the hall. And then I would type nothing to report. Does that make sense? So that you're able to talk a courtroom through, a jury through how you walk the house. Here's the floor plan. I walked here, I went there, then I walked there, then I walked there, then I walked here. You want to be able to identify how you went about looking at the house. Does that make sense? Same with bathrooms. You want to say, this is the hall bathroom, bathroom 1, bathroom 2, upstairs hall bathroom, and then 3, master bathroom, right? Does it make sense? So you want to identify what room you are inspecting. I have had agents get blasted for not being descriptive, and then they get challenged on which room they were actually talking about. And usually these things are like a year or 2 later, and the agent forgot, and they look stupid in the whole hearing. So they get cornered. So please be descriptive when you're labeling bedrooms, bathrooms, or other rooms that do not have a generic description to them so that you can identify which room in the house you're actually inspecting. Any questions on that? Remember, this is a lawsuit, so okay. Other. If you have other stuff here, please other it, but please be descriptive of what it is. Okay. CDM for additional rooms or structures. If you are beyond, you don't have enough room for additional, you're out of space for additional rooms or bathrooms, you can add an addendum here. But it is okay on the others to do bedroom 6. If you want to, you can do that as well. So on these others. It's only if you run out of other spaces, then you can do an addendum to add more if it's a really large house or has a lot of bedrooms. Garage and parking areas. This would include the garage and the driveway. And then we have exterior, front and backyards, and exterior of the building as well. So the exterior of the building, things like that. So say you walk in the building, you see some dry rot that looks like a dry rot. You don't put dry rot. You put damage to the wood, on the awning over bedroom 3, for example. Oh, I spelled that horrible. So, does it make sense? Good, because you're not a pest inspector. You don't know if it's drywall. Make sense? So, other observed or unknown conditions stated above. If you are there and you happen to be doing the AVID and the school down the street is getting out at 3 o'clock and you're doing your AVID right there and you notice it gets jammed in parking lot, you need to note that in this other observed things. Make sense? So sometimes the seller will say, I don't want to disclose that because they're worried it will hurt the value and desirability of the property. I always say, look, it is a seller required disclosure state as well as an agent required disclosure state. So I will get sued too if I don't disclose the issue. And since you've told me, now I know. So now I am going to disclose it, and it's going to disclose on the agent visual inspection disclosure. I recommend you put on your seller TDS or SPQ because otherwise we're going to look incongruent and you could be exposed to a lawsuit and I won't, right? So then they'll jump in. And then please put the name of the person inspecting it. Please note, if you are having another agent complete the AVID inspection, they are now party to your inspection. That is a fiduciary duty, that is a fiduciary duty activity under a license. So if you have someone else do it, even if you pay them to do it, now you got to do an AAA and add them to the transaction. Please put your time and date. Please put the time. Please put the weather condition. And if there were other people present. home inspectors, buyer, seller, whatever. Please put those present. That will, trust me, we've had lawsuits over AVIDs, and those other people present can really help you on this part if you identify the other people. So, and if there were other people there and you don't notice them, but you go to lawsuit and they say there were other people there, and they're gonna say, so why didn't you list them? Are you just lying? So please be careful about this disclosure. So, agent signs who performs the inspection, not the listing, but the agent who performs the inspection, the buyers, and then the seller's initial, and the other agent representing the buyer signs. So, let me tell you one quick story before we part on the AVID inspection. We had a new agent and first buyer, and they were a new home buyer, young, and they bought a home here in Sacramento, and the home was a raised foundation. It was a flip. The listing agent had flipped the home, and they were also selling it, so it was a little fishy there. Anyways, they do an inspection of the property, but actually, the inspector was there. They couldn't get into the property. Access, there was a tenant in there, so the home inspector had to leave. The listing agent calls back like 30 minutes later, says, I can have my inspector come right now. So the buyers use the sellers, who's also the listing agent, inspector, to come to the house. Anyways, they look at the house. Anyways, the house had foundation issues, meaning the house was uneven. The floor was uneven in parts of the house. You put a marble there, it would roll. And when we go through the transaction, the buyer's aware. They do a request for repair. The inspector says, I'll say, they do a request for repair. They tear up the whole living room floor and redo it to even it out. Okay. Buyer closes on the deal. Good to go. He has a housewarming party. His dad comes over, who's a retired contractor. His dad looks at the property, says, dude, you should never bought this home. The foundation is bad. And they end up suing both the buyer's agent and the listing agent. And we're the buyer side of this new agent. And she says, no, we disclosed that it was uneven. In fact, here's the home inspection. Here's our request for repairs. Here's everything, right? And actually, I went to the house after this whole thing blew up. I went to the house and literally, I went to the bathroom and literally they had a shower with a sliding door, and it was so slanted, the sliding doors just stayed together on one side. Like if you rolled it out, it'd roll back. That's how slanted it was. So, and literally, it went to a lawsuit. And literally in the lawsuit, even though they said it was in the home inspection and we did a request for repair, so the buyer was aware, the buyer's agent never put it in their AVID. They're required to disclose all material defects with the significant defects of the property that affect the value and desirability of the property, and it's not in their AVID. Now, even though it's in a home inspection and you did a request for repair, it's not in your AVID. This buyer's agent, you have a fiduciary duty to represent your buyer and do a visual inspection and report to them all significant defects of the property, and you didn't. And literally, if she went in through and said, uneven floors, and did, uneven floors, and, does it make sense? So, and even if she did other house, has uneven floor, house has uneven floors throughout. If she just put those words into the agent visual inspection disclosure, she probably wouldn't. It ended up settling for about 120,000, and she wrote 30 of it. 30,000 of it. The seller wrote 90 in the settlement. So, and it's all because now there was an inspection, a request repair to address some of the unevenness of the home, but just because she didn't put it in the AVID, the buyer's agent was stuck because they could prove lack of fiduciary duty by the buyer's agent. The main fact is you didn't put it in the AVID. So please, 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 please treat your AVIDs with the importance that they dictate, because I see it on the backside when we have disputes, and this is your get out of jail free card.
John, a quick question.
Yeah.
How did they resolve the issue? I didn't catch that.
They sued, and we went to mediation arbitration, and we settled, and they actually got a bid to redo the whole foundation of the home, and it was $120,000 to do the foundation of the home, plus legal fees. Sorry, plus legal fees. And we settled for that. So, and the agent, and I know the agent, they were just lazy. They were busy. They, single mom. She's just lazy and just didn't care about the AVID, just some form she had to do, and she just did it. And I was like, how could you not put the floors are uneven? Does it make sense? And she was just being lazy. It wasn't even like a purposeful thing. It was just a lazy thing. And it ended up selling for 30. We had E&O, but she had to pay a $10,000 co-charge. And we did not pay our half because we said you were at fault. You know this, and you were just being lazy. And so we ended up firing her from the brokerage card because I don't do agents who don't take their fiduciary requirements responsibly. So trust me, you don't want this. You get an arbitration, mediation, even mediation arbitration on one of your transactions and you're involved. It sucks your energy, sucks your time, creates anxiety and frustration and worry, and gets you off your real estate game. Trust me, gets you off your real estate game. So you want to avoid these. The best way is just, when you do your AVID, be aware, just stop what you're doing. Don't answer your phone, like avoid the text message, and just sit down and walk the house and write about it. And if you can just do that well, that period of 15 minutes of walking the house and writing some stuff on is your get out of jail free card on every transaction. And if you do it poorly, I guarantee you it's just a matter, and you have a long career, I guarantee you there's just a matter of time before that becomes an issue. So,
John, I have
any questions on this? Yes, go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so I get the floors because I'm kind of like, well, yeah, obviously, right?
Obviously, yeah.
But so let's say okay, so I have a buyer right now and they couldn't get the hot water heaters to turn on. So obviously I've had a discussion with him, but do I go back but we don't really check the hot water heater on here. Like at what level is it, okay, that was like blatantly obvious versus
So that's, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about, that's a good point. Thank you, Jen. Let's talk about visual. You're not required to turn anything on. You're not trying to turn anything off. You're not required to open or close anything. Visual. You do not touch. You look. So here's my thing. When I'm on the buy side, I usually do my AVID at the time of inspections. Okay. I do my AVID before the inspectors get there, because if the inspector says, ooh, that's dry rot, ooh, that's dry rot, guess what? Now you know. If the home inspector says the water heater is bad, now you know. And if you haven't done your AVID yet, you have to disclose that now, because now you know it's a material defect of the property. So when I do my AVID, I want to make sure I'm doing it before the inspections happen, because if I do that, then I'm not required to disclose whatever the inspectors find that they tell me. If I do my AVID.
Oh my gosh, but then if they do it before, you have to basically,
and you're aware of those, then you'll have to I would at least acknowledge it in here. And other, I put, buyer, agent recommends buyer review home inspection, completed on, inspection, completed on XX, right? Completed XXX date, right? Whatever, right? For additional issues, right?
So smell either,
What's
like
that?
smell, like
smell,
like urine, huge, like really, really
yeah,
bad.
smells. Yeah, smells are in there. Yeah, definitely smells.
Okay.
Now, you don't describe the smell. So you just said urine smells. You don't know it's a urine smell. You're not an inspector. You don't put urine smell. You said there is a smell. There is a strong odor. Does it make sense? Make sense? There's an odor in the house. There's an odor in this bedroom. Does it make sense? That's what you put.
Okay.
No adjectives. No diagnosing. See, it seems innocuous. Oh, it's a urine smell. You're not an inspector. Trust me, I've literally been on hearings where they're grilling me and my agent, because I'm the broker, on like on like, how do you know it's a urine smell? Like literally asking me these things. We're pulling up emails and reports. Literally in court, I've had it where we're pulling up inspections and emails talking about what's this exactly mean, right? So,
Thank you.
so just no pictures. Try not to use adjectives. Don't diagnose a problem. Describe what it looks like. You're doing a visual inspection. Describe what it looks like, or smells like, or feels like. Does that make sense? So, whew. Any other issues with the agent visual inspection disclosure? As we go forward, I'm just going to note, I am going to ratchet up the, what do you call it? The veracity, the completeness of our agent visual inspection disclosures. We've had a lot of agents doing poor agent visual inspections disclosures. So on the compliance side, we're going to start harshing this a little harsher to get more complete standards to the standards that I'm talking about today. So please be aware, we may kick back your AVID if it's not appropriate. So, any questions for any of these forums? We are now completed. It is almost 3 o'clock. Excellent timing, hour and a half. I love this. So any other questions? BRBC, TDS, SBQ, AVID. And you notice I put all these together. These 4 create the most disputes, legal disputes, these 4. So these 4 are my legal dispute session, right? These 4 complete disputes. So if you want to talk about BRBCs, AVIDs, TDS, SBQ, these are ones that result in lawsuits, right? So please, 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 please treat these 4 forms very appropriately. Okay. Okay. Next week, week 4 is the final of the 4-week series. That will include the SIP, the seller in possession, which is rent back. Also the RLAS, and we'll talk about the legal parameters that affecting each, which is pretty dramatic. We're going to talk about contingency releases. We're going to talk about request for repairs and responding to request for repairs in the next thing. And I think I'll add on VP too. Final inspection. Yeah, I'll add on VP too. So those forms will be the final forms that we're going to talk about in depth. And then I will repeat this starting next month as well. So thank you for your time. I do appreciate you. I know you are busy. And so please, I appreciate you taking time to invest in yourselves. Everyone have a great day, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, kind sir.
No problem.